So a lot of times when we start these episodes, we'll talk about, a key event or one particular moment that happened this past week in the NFL. But I'm going to start it with almost a just clumping together a perfect package specifically for myself. So I'm going to be a little, self-serving here, but
Okay.
it was a phenomenal. I can't think of a better 3-day stretch of football for Dan Vasco because not only did it start off wonderfully on Saturday with Illinois State
Oh, the
punching their ticket
Redbirds.
to the national championship, which is awesome. Second national title in the last decade for them. They've already beat the North Dakota State Bison that they could never get past previously. They're the first team in FCS history to win 4 straight road games to get to the title game. So making history, awesome stuff. Then we turn around later that same night, and we got the Bears beating the Packers in absolutely ridiculous fashion.
Yep.
If we want to just tie it into general football, 3 days prior, the Rams Seahawks game was wild and a phenomenal watch.
Didn't think it could be beat. Yeah.
Then we turn around on Sunday, and the Steelers pull off their best win of the season, beating the Lions and getting
Well,
that
with the
3-game
refs.
win streak.
The refs beat the Lions.
Oh, well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little bit down the road.
I will say, shout out to
phenomenal
your
weekend for
Redbirds.
yours truly here.
Shout out to your Redbirds. That when they beat North Dakota State, I thought that was the title game because I'm like, well, North Dakota doesn't lose unless
Right,
they're losing in the title game. And they're like, yeah, Illinois State pulls off the upset. I'm like, oh shit, they won. And there's like, oh no, that was like round
Yeah, and that
one.
wasn't even the quarters. That wasn't even the quarters.
Yeah. Like, oh, it feels like, oh, what? Because it truly was a giant upset. And the Redbirds just, unlike a March Madness run where an 8 seed upsets that 1 seed in round 2 or whatever, the Birds have just kept going. Have they ever won a title before? I know this is the second time they've been. So this is still the first chance for them to win this tournament, right? I think so.
I mean, I don't know if they won one like in the early 1900s, something like that. But yeah, no, this would be their first title, and they've had the same head coach. Their head coach Brock Spack was named head coach.
Spack.
Yeah, it's just like a hilarious name, and he looks like he's just got a big mustache, and he looks like his name. But he was like a Purdue linebacker or something like that, and he came over in 2008, so the year before my freshman year.
Wow.
And so he's all I knew. They weren't a very good program. They started to get good probably my junior to senior year, but that was also right when North Dakota State was getting great. So they were always getting wrecked by them. And then they went to the title game, I think in 2015, and lost to North Dakota State there to Carson Wentz. Yeah. So
it's a really, the FCS playoffs are a slog. And if you are in the title game and you've taken down either a North Dakota or a South Dakota along the way, it's an impressive feat. Listen, we have a ton to get to. There's so much meat on the bone. Week 16 did not disappoint at all. Week 17 is shaping up to be extremely consequential. It actually, in a lot of ways, Week 18 may mean nothing, in so many ways. And we'll kind of talk about that here at the end. The NFL, they've done themselves such a service by scheduling all these divisional games late in the year. But this season, the way it's shaken out, where you just have the haves and the have-nots, and it's so clear the kind of the teams that are in, and really now all you're worrying about is seeding. And you can just already tell the vibes from so many of these teams. Every local reporter, every person I hear, they all keep saying like, well, rest is more important, than seeding. Who cares? Once you clinch, it's like, yeah, would you like to be home? Sure. But would you rather rest your guys week 18 and just get ready? That seems to be the consensus. It seems as though very few teams are looking to be like, we're going all in, full throttle, no matter what. And we'll kind of break all that down here. So much to get into, Dan, and we're flying high. This was a Football Lounge podcast weekend, if there ever was one, with the Steelers and the Bears, and you love it. You love it when that lines up.
Here we go. Let's dive in. Week 16 recap underway. Of course, the Steelers and Bears are going to be talked about. We'll grab maybe like a handful of games to discuss, pivoting a little bit from our typical flow here on the show where we go over every game. There's so many games that don't matter anymore. There's a handful of games here that really mattered a ton. And then we're going to, save a little bit of time there to maybe look ahead here to week 17 with so many other games that have playoff implications and seeding implications on the line coming up next week. Before we get into the Thursday night game, just a couple of fun anecdotes and tidbits from this past week. Taysom Hill became the first player in the Super Bowl era to have 1,000 yards rushing, receiving, and passing in a career. It is
cool.
Pretty awesome.
Pretty cool.
And it is going to show he actually, at first it was he's kind of a gimmicky player and the Saints are giving him a contract. Is it really worth it? But it's kind of paying dividends at this point where we're seeing he produces, right? He's actually a valuable player. And I just think it's really cool that some unique guy like him is able to have success and actually, make a career for himself in the NFL. So I thought that was really neat.
It's almost in a weird way, depending on how Travis Hunter's career goes, it's one of the most impressive careers as far as he's not a Hall of Fame or anything like that, but you have to specify the modern era because guys were just different back in the 20s and the 30s and but
Walter Payton was certainly a guy that was more than capable of 1,000 career passing yards.
Yes, if he
was a great passer, right? Yeah. But they just didn't do it enough.
And Taysom is a very unique guy, and it's fun. It's a fun thing for him to hang his hat on. You know what I mean? Again, he's not a Hall of Famer, but that's a cool thing. You can sit there and say, I accomplished something that no one else since the Super Bowl era has done. It's impressive for sure.
Yeah, he might not be a Hall of Famer, but he might be a Hall of Honor guy in New Orleans and kind of cement himself.
Ring of Honor type of guy, yeah.
One of the great, memorable Saints. Another thing, Garrett Wilson last caught a pass October 12th.
So wild.
And he is the Jets' leading receiver with 395 yards.
That is so wild.
It's been 2 months of football, and he still leads the team in receiving.
The Jets are bad, dude.
If there's not a better encapsulation of the Jets' complete, just utter failure as an offense, as a franchise, pretty rough.
It's not good. It's not good. And I don't. They're one of the. I know they have multiple picks now, and you like to think, but they're one of those where it's it still feels like. I know we saw it with the Texans 3 years ago. I know we saw it with the Washington last year. Coach and quarterback, you just fix and it can change for you so quickly. They still feel like it's no, that team is 3 years away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just it's a never-ending pursuit.
Rebuild.
Final tidbit before the games, because I don't know how much we're going to get into this Monday night game, but Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor were matched up this previous week. They had a combined 3,503 scrimmage yards and 32 total touchdowns as a duo coming into this matchup. The last time two players entered a game with 3,500 scrimmage yards and 30 or more touchdowns combined was week 17 of 2006. Can you guess?
Okay, LT.
Okay, it was LT was one of them. Yep. And the other played for Arizona, but you might not remember
Edgerrin
him.
James?
Yeah. Nice.
I'm
Good
locked
pull.
in.
Yeah.
I'm locked in there.
Yeah, LT and Edgerrin James there. So
that's wild. That's crazy. Those two, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, we're not talking about him nearly as much this season, but he's been very, very special. And if he has if this is now the kind of third act of his career, just more of a receiver and still, 700, 800, 900 yards rushing.
he could squeeze out another
He could squeeze out
4
another
years.
2 or 3 years, I think,
Yeah.
of really quality, like this type of football, which will certainly make him a Hall of Famer. Absolutely. Like,
Yep.
and he's playing in big games, being in San Francisco, which is just also, I think it just helps when you think of someone in their career importance like that.
Yeah. All right, let's get to this
I
third.
thought you were going to say Caleb Williams snub for the Pro Bowl, #1 vote getter in the
Yeah,
NFC.
that's true. I
Not
just
a Pro
do
Bowl.
not care at all about the Pro Bowl anymore. So that's why
Oh,
it was like it was kind of an afterthought, but that was a snub. Absolutely.
And Nashawn Wright, the undrafted, like bounce around
Yeah,
league guy,
having a
leads the league in
phenomenal year.
interceptions. He has
Yeah.
been, I think like he should maybe be considered a defensive player of the year the way he's playing. I mean, besides Myles Garrett, you're like, I
Well,
mean,
yeah, Myles Garrett's like got that locked up. But
he's just been extremely, extremely impressive. And for him to get snubbed for Kenyon Mitchell, it's like that's just a name thing. It just that is what it is. That's why the Pro Bowl is a joke, and you wait for the All Pros. The All Pro means way more
for sure.
than the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. All right, the Rams at Seattle Thursday night.
Yeah.
So this week got off to a banging start because Seattle wins 38-37. We'll get to the wild ending. We'll get to the ending of regulation. But the Seahawks were down 16 points in this. The Rams were in control. We were already getting ready to fire the tweets away of how, oh, here we go. Here's like late season Darnold that we've seen with the Vikings and the Jets and Panthers, etc. To Seattle's credit, obviously they hung tough. They got the big return from Rashid Shaheed that sparked the entire comeback, right?
Huge.
And then they're able to force overtime with that crazy ruling on the 2-point conversion. They called it a backwards pass.
Yep.
Which then was able to be recovered, and Zach Charbonnet was the only player to actually go and grab the ball.
Clear recovery, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was the whistle actually blown? It seems like the whistle was blown prior to him recovering, and I think that is the biggest point of contention that I could see others have. But yeah, that was a lot of controversy because that ties the game at 30 to send them into overtime. Otherwise, it would have been an incomplete pass, and the Rams would have won that game right then and there. So, yeah, your thoughts on how regulation ended before we get to.
Well, my thoughts is look at the Rams drives there in the fourth quarter, 3 and outs. I mean, when you need the MVP, I think Matt Stafford's the MVP.
Yes,
I still think the Rams are my #1 team in the NFC. I know it's hard because they just lost to Seattle, but that game was at Seattle. And they really, to me, they outplayed them for a large portion of the game. We're going to talk about this when we talk Bears-Packers here in a second. They outplayed Seattle for the majority of that game. They got really tight there at the end, and I think made some really bad decisions. I think Sean McVay called a bad game down the stretch. And Seattle's defense, to their credit, which has carried them for a large portion of the year, and they're in a very, very elite unit with a great defensive head coach. They tightened up the screws when they absolutely needed to, when push came to shove, and they made the Rams punt 3 times in a row. And credit Darnold. I turned the game off after that Darnold second interception in that drive in the fourth quarter. I was done. I mean, I have to be at work at 3 a.m. So I have, it's not like I'm one of the. I'm just like, oh, screw it, game's over. I have to bide my time carefully.
Decision.
I made a business decision. I'm like, it's over. It's just not. It's not happening. The Rams are going to win this game. And then I missed the 3 and out, and the Seattle comes back in. I just want to mention, in overtime, I got to give a shout out to the guy who caught the 2-point conversion, a bounce around the league tight end who's been in the league, I think now 10 years, Eric Saubert. From Drake University, my brother's teammate. I knew.
Oh, they
Saubert.
Were teammates. Oh, that's cool.
We knew Saubert from back in the day. He was a year younger than Phil, and he was one of those guys that you just knew. You're like, this guy should not be playing D1 AA football. Like, he's just a big, strong freak of a guy. And it's crazy is he was one of those, like, he played in college like Travis Kelce, but he's made his name in the NFL for being kind of a blocking tight end, a special teams guy, do everything. But that just, again, goes to show you how good you have to be to make the NFL.
Sure.
And to stay in the NFL. And so when I saw that highlight in the morning, I was like, oh my God, Saubert. The last time he was on the Denver last year, and it, kind of bounced around the league for the last couple of years. So I saw that, and I was just like, what a moment. How awesome for him. So shout out to him and Drake University's own. Listen, Seattle, I proved a ton in this game. They had a ton of fight at home. Seattle, if they get the 1 seed,
Yeah.
that place felt like
huge.
Legion of Doom. Rewatching those highlights of the late fourth, early overtime period. The next morning, I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is Legion of Doom type Seattle 12th man stealing the world record away from the Chiefs type crowd engagement.
Yeah.
And so
But then they give up that like 50-yarder to Puka in
I
OT,
know.
and you're like, come on, guys. So it's like breaking
I
at the worst time.
also woke up and I was like, in the final four of I was in the final four of the fantasy football playoffs in
And
my
you were
work
playing
league,
against Puka.
and I played against Puka.
Yeah, same here.
I won that game, by
I
the way.
won
I'm in the
too.
championship.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashton Genty and Chris Olave, for also having giant games. Regardless, I left the game after watching the highlights, honestly saying, Dan, these two teams, it's tit for tat. Like, these are the two best teams in the NFC. I would be really, even with my Bears, I'd be very surprised if the Rams or the Seattle is not representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. Like, that's how I feel this evening. Even with my Bears, obviously I'm going to bet my Bears. I'm going to root for my Bears. I think the Bears could do it, but those two teams just feel like they're playing at another level right now, and that game was special.
The Bears Packers Saturday night was very special for many reasons. So yeah, I mean, I of course want to get your breakdown of the entire game, but really that fourth quarter where everything seemed very bleak. The Bears offense was muted for 3.5 quarters of this football game. But Caleb once again, pulls through when the team needs him. The onside kick was wild. And that was by design. I saw some people breaking down like how they had a kind of like a bunch formation on the onside kick, and that's actually rare. So for people saying that, it's all fluky, there are actually like schematics around special teams and onside kicks. Granted, Dobbs still, blew that. But
wait, was it Dobbs or Reed? Why am I?
Oh, maybe I thought it was
no, I think
Dobbs.
it was Dobbs.
I
I
could
think
be
it's
wrong.
Dobbs. Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's Dobbs.
Yeah. So that was obviously the play that changed everything. But you still needed to go and score, and then after that in overtime, you still needed to go and take care of business there too. So, I mean, you had to be pumped. Obviously, Bears Nation was going crazy. This was one of the biggest games in Bears regular season history, probably. And I don't know, like in your fandom, is that top 3
Oh,
games,
since 2000. Period? Yeah. I think of my fandom like 2000 on, right? Brian Urlacher era to present.
Like obviously the Super Bowl is in there, so there's that.
Yeah. I mean, the Devin Hester moment. There also was the Brian Urlacher with the Bears are who we thought they were. We let him off the hook. Mike Brown, back-to-back pick 6 wins in 2003. Was that I'm blanking when Mike Brown did
I
early
think
2000s.
You're right. Yeah.
Listen, the Bears have had a bunch of great moments, in the last, 25 years. What made this one special is a quarterback. Like, all of those things I just mentioned are defense, right? Or special teams.
Right.
And for the first time I considered and go, oh, no. And what's crazy is like, what was the throw of the week last weekend? Caleb to DJ Moore, like the catch. We sat here talking.
It's awesome that the DJ Moore connection is finally
and like the NFL kept retweeting Caleb to DJ Moore. It's the catch, and everyone's like, dude, this is special. And then what was the NFL retweeting all weekend too? The Iceman, Caleb to DJ Moore. This is surreal. I keep trying to explain to my wife. She's like, I'm like, honey, you just don't understand. And This is surreal. Like, this is just surreal. And listen, Packers fans are funny. They're learning how to lose, and it's hard. I know how to lose. I'm a great loser. I'm the best loser. I lose games, and when the Bears lost to the Packers 3 weeks ago, I just turn off the TV, go about my day. We lose games. I know how to lose. It does not eat me alive. When you lose so much, the Steelers-Bears alliance works. I'm telling you, when you lose that much as a fan, and you know how to lose, like, I've never been one of those guys who punches the TV,
Yeah.
because you're just like, oh, we lose. That's what we do. We lose. We don't win big games. We don't on our side historically, for the most part, right? So this is surreal. And I'm going to count my blessings because, again, the NFL giveth and the NFL taketh. Are the Bears going to be the team that wins 6 or 7 games when they're trailing in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter every year? No, it's impossible. But it's happening this year. And what I think is special about this is, remember when Patrick Mahomes was first year as a starter, and then by the end of his second year as a starter, what was the narrative of Patrick Mahomes? If he has the ball in the fourth quarter, it's over. Like,
Right.
If he's the last one with the ball, it's over. We don't really feel that way now. That was kind of the weird thing about Mahomes is this year, which was such a weird year for Mahomes, because it was the first year you say to yourself, no, it's not working. But for 7 years, if Mahomes had the ball last, you've lost the game. It's over. That is the narrative. And Caleb this is now happening. Like, that's now the narrative. It feels like that is now the narrative that's building.
And it's also like, these aren't yards. A lot of this isn't yards after the catch type of big plays.
No.
Caleb is creating the play with his arm. Like that throw to DJ Moore.
The one across the middle. Well, the one across the middle to set up the touchdown to tie it.
Yeah,
that one gets overlooked.
Too.
The throw to the kid who's I'm thinking of blank at his name. The kid who's who's caught the touchdown to tie it, number 20, Janae Walker.
Oh yeah.
Out of Texas A&M, the undrafted
that was
kid.
Also, I was like freaking out because that almost like that was a little. You put too much air on it,
Well, especially after. And the Packers, the Packers are a great football team. They're beat to shit, and yet they are well coached. I love hearing Packers fans talk about firing Matt LaFleur. Like, I love it because that's what I want. Matt LaFleur is a great coach, and I think they are really well run. And what they always say is, like, don't do the opposite of what your enemy wants you to do. I want them to fire Matt LaFleur, so that means you should keep Matt LaFleur. You know what I mean? Like, you should keep Matt LaFleur. But they're probably going to lose their defensive coordinator, and I can't think of his name. I'm blanking on his name now. He has had a phenomenal year. He's been very, very good. And listen, the Bears were in a spot where everything had to go right for them in the fourth quarter, and they had to make all the plays because the Packers, they were the better team for 3.5 quarters of that football game. I will say this, though, credit to the Bears. The Packers were 0 for 5 for touchdowns in the red zone.
Yeah.
The Bears stuffed them in the red zone with multiple turnovers, multiple stops. And listen, the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, they held them to 16 points in an overtime game.
Did not punt in that game, and they lost. Like that. So Packers fans should be frustrated. They should be furious. You melted down. And if you just have your star wide receiver be aggressive and get the onside kick instead of panicking and getting lit up, you win that game. The Jordan Love thing, listen, I don't think it was a dirty hit, so I have nothing to say about that. It wasn't a dirty hit. Booker went in clean. Jordan Love saw Booker and did what he naturally would do, which is he turtled, right? And so that's where the head gets lowered, the head on the head. It was not a dirty hit. And I didn't see much of people saying it being a dirty hit. Jordan Love's missed a lot of time in his young career as a starter. I don't know if I can add a concussion to being injury prone when it's that type of thing, but it's another storyline.
It's just you're missing time.
I mean, we now know, like, the reason we know Malik Willis is a really good backup is because Jordan Love has missed a lot of time in the last 2 years, right? Like, that's a storyline like that. And so it wasn't Malik Willis didn't lose in the football game. The fumble, like whatever, like Malik Willis played.
Yeah, he played pretty well.
If Jordan Love plays as well as Malik Willis, they're in the same spot, right? Like it's not, they didn't lose because of that. But I will say Jordan Love and this Packers team, they have to find a way to be better in the red zone, and they have to find a way as well to run the ball as confidently as their offense did with Malik Willis as they did with Jordan Love. Like it felt like their running game was more dynamic because Malik Willis, they literally just started calling some read options and some of that stuff. And I'm not saying make your franchise quarterback do that, but the run game seemed a little predictable, and it seemed a little predictable at times this year. Like, who were two great run games last year? The Eagles and the Packers. They've had down years, like run game, like compared to what they should be last year. Listen, I think the Packers are going to beat the Ravens. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think we're staring down the barrel of Bears, Packers, 2 seed, 7 seed in the first round of the playoff game. I think we're absolutely staring that down. I'm all for it because I feel confident now that I have a coach and quarterback who belong in that rivalry, who belong in that game. The Packers may win. They're a really good football team. It is what it is. Like, you're going to, like, you know what I mean? Like if you want to win the Super Bowl, if you want to win multiple playoff games, you've got to find a way to beat good teams like the Green Bay Packers multiple times. I think they're going to be there. I'd be shocked if the Packers don't end up with that 7 seed, at least winning one of the next 2 games and getting in.
Yeah, so that tie is going to be super helpful.
Yeah, don't panic, Packers fans. That's for sure. As far as for my Bears, listen, I'm on cloud 9. It's the first time they made the playoffs since 2020. But remember, that was Mitch Trubisky. They were under 500, I believe, and they snuck in as a 7 seed. It was like the first year of the 7 seed because it was COVID. And they snuck in and they played the Saints and got destroyed in New Orleans. It was bad. That was when Mitch Trubisky won the MVP award, when like the part of my take guys, Barstool Big Cat, and them like kind of rigged it in a funny way, like kind of laughing at our own misery. And before that was 2018 with the double doink. And before that, it was a long time. I mean, so we're talking vibes this positive and deserved to make it in. It's been a long time, and especially when you feel confident with your quarterback. I'll end on this. Packers fans talking about, wow, you beat a backup quarterback, blah, 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 and that's the biggest win. Aaron Rodgers has 1 Super Bowl win. Aaron Rodgers has 1 NFC title win. In that NFC title game, Aaron Rodgers beat Caleb Haney, a backup quarterback for the Chicago Bears, to win that game. So, like, don't do that argument. Like, right? Just don't make that argument.
You got to beat the opponent.
You got to beat the opponent in front of you. Jay Cutler tore his knee up, missed that whole, like, second half of that game, and you beat Caleb Haney barely. Yeah, right. He had a chance to win that game, Caleb Haney, to go to the Super Bowl, to get your only Super Bowl with a Hall of Fame top 10 quarterback of all time. So let's not do that, okay? Let's not do that. Let's just beat who you beat. There's better arguments. The Packers are a very good football team. The Bears are just having a special year, and I don't know where it's going to end, but I'm gonna enjoy the ride. As I said to you a couple weeks ago, I'd be really disappointed if they didn't make the playoffs. I'm happy they made the playoffs. Anything that happens from here on out, it doesn't feel like 2018 where it's like they have to win in 2018 because this feels like something different. It feels like
it just feels like a foundation has already been set, and now you're just building. Like,
I have the coach, I have the quarterback, and it feels like I'm going to be back. I'm going to be
comfortable. It's a comfortable feeling, and I don't think a Bears fan has been able to feel comfortable about the state of the team, in a very long time.
I put $5 on the Bears to win the Super Bowl after that Steelers win.
Yeah,
it was 5 to win 300.
No kidding. Wow.
My cash out has been $5 for the past couple weeks. It's up to $8.99, baby. Vegas is scared. They're scared.
That's
They're trying to get me to cash out.
No chance.
$8.99. I'm not taking your $8.99. I'm riding.
The cash out could be up to $2.85, and Mark would be like, "I'm riding this thing out."
I
Let's
got
go.
it. I got it.
Get that
You
extra
live and
15.
die. You live and die. You live
No
and
doubt.
die.
Well, yeah, on behalf of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're welcome.
Thank you.
The Steelers helped catapult the Bears to a playoff berth with their victory over the Lions 29-24. This game, much like the Rams Seahawks, wasn't without controversy and some wild play calls in a series at the end of the game. This was a poorly officiated game, honestly, throughout. It was just, it was kind of wild. You had the DK Metcalf incident with a fan in the first quarter. That clearly got in his head as well, because immediately after that, he dropped like 2 passes. He then had a personal foul. It was just not going well. And now he has been suspended for 2 games because of his confrontation with the fan. He's going to appeal. We'll see if that holds up. We'll talk more about what the Steelers need to do and what this means for them the next couple weeks a little bit later. But for the game, I mean, this was hands down the best Steelers win of the season, in my view, because one showed me that they can beat a quality team. I know that the Lions have not been the Lions of last year, but they were still coming into this game the number 1 offense. And they still had some dudes on defense as well. So I was most impressed with the Steelers' ability to completely quell the Lions' rushing attack entirely. 12 carries for 15 yards as a team.
That's
Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had more rushing yards than Jahmyr Gibbs in this game.
Crazy.
Just absolutely wild to think about. So that was huge. Again, similar issues that I've had with the Steelers and many other times that they've never been able to put a team away. They were up comfortably 29-17, and you felt like really good, and they let the Lions come back, and that was a problem. It shouldn't have come down to that final sequence. I personally think both the calls were correct at the end of that game. But there was just a lot of officiating period that happened. But I will say the team, unlike years past, the last like 5 or so years, is hitting its stride in late December versus completely falling apart. They're playing their best football. They're on a 3-game winning streak right now. They've beat the Ravens and the Lions here now. And so, yeah, that's like, there's a lot of optimism for Pittsburgh. It looks like they're going to make the playoffs. At least a lot of things are pointing that direction. I obviously still have my pessimism about the team's longevity here in the playoffs, but they're playing their best football right now. And Aaron Rodgers actually is having a legitimate command. Like, he's playing like a top 12 quarterback right now in the league. And I think that's pretty exciting too. So,
and your running backs are balling out.
Yeah. I mean, look, Kenneth Gainwell is, I don't know all of the transactions that have happened, probably buck for buck, the best value player that was added this offseason. He's making like $1.5 million.
That's crazy.
And he is playing, he's spectacular. I've taken issue with them taking Jaylen Warren off the field because I think he's great. The last like month has started to show like Kenneth Gainwell is just that good. And like they can't take him off the field either. So they do have 2 really
catching
good
the ball, running the
backs.
ball.
Yeah.
Really special.
That catch, that was one of the coolest, most wild plays I've seen in a long time.
Well, and the Warren like big run, like I'm like, that's just
2 identical 45-yard runs. Yeah, Steelers don't break big plays.
No, Dan, my jaw like dropped watching it. Like, holy fuck, like that, and like there's no one. I'm like, okay, someone's gonna get him. Nope.
Yeah,
and then it was identical. It was identical, and that to me said a lot about where the Steelers team is at, that they were committing to the run that late in the game. They're trying to put the game away using the run game. They felt confident with it. Obviously, DK is an issue. I think when DK comes back, I don't really listen. We don't know what was said and why he did what he did. We don't know, and it'll always be he said because there was just those two in that moment, unless someone was secretly mic'd up or something.
Right.
But I'll say this: you can't do that. You have to know better. If someone is you have all the power as an NFL player. There is so much security. There's so many team personnel people. If someone is saying something to you that is rubbing you the wrong way, whatever it might be, you can get that guy kicked out and ruin his life. He would never be allowed back in a stadium again, right? Like all you have to do is just point and go like that guy. Like I know that seems childish or whatever it might be, but like that is, you have the power. You have to be.
And he had supposedly done that with this very fan last year.
And you have to be the adult in that situation, right?
Yeah.
Or you have to bring more attention to it and be like, I'm going to bring a microphone up. Listen to what this guy's saying to me. Like, can we do something right? Like, and so he just reacted so poorly. And I'm hearing now you're reading the stuff that his guarantees are gone. Like financially, this is going to cost him huge. I think that's good for the Steelers in the long run, because I think keeping DK Metcalf at a new deal, maybe with with less money, would be a really nice thing. But in a lot of ways, DK's kind of a luxury. The tight end play, the running back play right now is really the focal point of this offense.
For sure.
Scotty Miller's playing really well. Like
he hadn't caught a pass all year, and he catches a fourth down conversion and then a third down conversion right after that in the same series.
He just kind of showed up, and I think you're going to see him.
And Adam Thielen, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, all three of those guys have not appeared in a game for the team as of 3 weeks ago.
And that just goes to show you Aaron is building a relationship with some of these guys now that down the stretch. Like, I think you're going to see, I'm starting to feel the vibes of Pittsburghers. Like, they're going to win the division. So someone's got to go to them. That's going to be a tough football game to win. And I don't know if the Steelers are going to make an AFC title game. I don't know if they're going to make a Super Bowl, but I would not be shocked at all if they win a game at home with the way they're playing football right now in the playoffs. I'll say this about the Lions. It's the Lions. This is still impressive. This is the Detroit Lions, right? This is the golden age of Lions football in the Super Bowl era. And it's not even close. Nothing even sniffs it. Even with Barry Sanders, I think he made the playoffs once or twice in his 10 years. Calvin Johnson, I think, made it once in his 10 years. This is the golden age of Lions football. Dan Campbell should not be questioned. What I think they need to do, though, I feel like they are the Eagles after the Super Bowl loss, where they had the brain drain, and and then they had the bad end of the year, and they lost in that wild card round to the Bucks. I think this is a good wake up call for them. It's like, okay, let's go out and hire some guys, and let's bring them into my culture that I'm building. That I'm Dan Campbell. I run this building. You have an extremely talented roster. It's got a couple holes. Got to work that O-line, get that back up and running to be one of the best in the NFL. You got to find consistent pass rush to aid with Aiden Hutchinson. He can't just do it all alone. It still seems like the back end of that defense never has really clicked, even though they've invested so much in it. So, I know people are like, it's the Lions.
Feel like it's the downfall of the Lions.
But it's not it's crazy. They're still a really quality football team. That is
and they still could go 10-7 this season.
Yes.
Like if this is like the horrible downfall of the Lions, going 10-7. I mean,
and when you look at the NFC, it's like, what do you want to do? I mean, look, they lost to a Washington team that went to an NFC title game that's going to be picking in the top 5. Like the NFC is wild right now. And so for them to not fall off the map, to still be extremely competitive in all these games and have a winning record, I'm still I know it's no solace, right? But I'm still beyond impressed that I'm talking about Lions football in this way. And that it still goes to Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, like the talent they have on that roster. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Laporta hasn't really played at all in the last, 5-6 weeks. This is a team that I'm not panicked about in the future. I'm not picking the Lions to come in last in this division next year. I can tell you that. I do think they need to rehire a new offensive coordinator. They need to, maybe look at their defensive coordinator, and then they say, hey, we need to bring in some new ideas, some new voices, and into this culture and try to build it and grow in that way.
I mean, I think they've been hurt. Maybe Dan Campbell needs to rethink like how they conduct practices or the training. Like they've been getting hurt a lot. It's like the Ravens have dealt with something very similar of the last like 6 or 7 years of like, do we really need to take a look at like what we're doing organizationally?
Also, you can't,
and maybe it's just luck. Maybe it's just bad luck, and that very well could be.
The game was never out of hand. The fact that they only called the 14 runs, like it's unacceptable. Like that's unacceptable.
Right.
So I don't know if that's Dan. I don't know if that's the OC. But again, it's like, okay, your roster is built to not do that. Jared Goff is great. Jared Goff didn't lose them this game. It's not like he's back. Like so. Go to the drawing board. It was a hell of a win by Pittsburgh on the road. I know you hang on by a thread, but again, that's just it's just a really
I mean that they did it without two of their starting pass rushers. They did it with a fourth string offensive tackle, a backup guard. So anyone who was talking about the Detroit injuries. Steelers were fairly banged up, and they lost their corner early in the game. Jalen Ramsey had to leave his spot at safety to come back to corner. They were pretty depleted in this game as well. So I did think that it was overall impressive what Pittsburgh was able to do. And we'll touch on the prospects of Week 17 and beyond in a little bit. I did want to talk about the Jags Broncos real quick because I mean, we got to start talking about Jacksonville as like a true legitimate threat in the AFC right now. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is playing football like we envisioned he would play all those years ago, and it sucks, of course, that this was finally the year where both of us in the offseason were like kind of out on the hopes that he's ever going to be a superstar. He's playing like a superstar right now the last 5-6 weeks. So if he continues this run, the sky's the limit. But they win by 14 points in Denver, and Trevor has another spectacular performance. I honestly think the Jags are probably the most complete team in the AFC right now.
This
is a tough football team to deal with. The AFC is weird. The Patriots are a pretty good complete team, but there's some weaknesses you can pick apart. The Broncos were close to complete, but the offense I don't trust at all. The Jags are pretty close to being a total package.
I'll say this. Liam Cohn deserves a ton of credit. We talked a lot about Ben Johnson, what he's done with Caleb.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about Mike Vrabel.
I
mean, listen. I mean, you look at the quarterbacks right now that are thriving. And you look at like the fall of Baker this year and the rise of Trevor, and Liam Cohn is at the center of that. I mean, you look at what Sean Payton has got out of Bo Nix. You look at what Ben Johnson is now getting out of Caleb Williams. Trevor Lawrence is finally hitting his potential. He finally is playing like what we thought he would be. He's making impactful runs. He's making impactful giant throws. He's starting to look like Josh Allen, which is kind of what we thought he should be in the last couple of years. He's the same size. He's got the same giant rocket arm. He's got the same freakish mobility. Like this, he should be Josh Allen, like Justin Herbert. And he's finally looking like he really belongs in that category. I think the Jags are very for real. And part of the reason I think they're for real is you look at what they've done post the move to go get the wide receiver help. And you look at what they've done now that Brian Thomas is kind of wide receiver number 2 and Parker Washington has exploded. You
Yeah.
obviously, and they
And
signed
Brenton
Jacob.
Strange is
Yes.
a solid tight end.
And Travis Etienne is healthy and he is really playing great football. And then you have Josh Allen, Hines on the defensive side, Trevor Walker. Like, they're finally all starting to really click. And part of it is you see it with that team. You see it in a sense of like when you're picking at the top of the draft year after year after year, and you finally then get the right coach, and all of a sudden you start looking around, God, this fucking team's got a lot of talent. It's like, well, they should. They've been, unlike the Chiefs, they've been picking at the top of the draft all these years. It's really starting to click. And for Denver, listen, the win streak was going to come to an end. The hard pill to swallow is it's now coming to an end against a team that you're going to be battling with for positioning in the playoffs. And it leaves you really vulnerable in your own division now to the Chargers, which we'll talk about here in a second when we kind of look ahead. I'll just end on this. I know I've said it before. I know I beat a dead horse. I know I'm the non-Bo Nix guy. I thought Bo played well, but again, when you look at him and you look at Trevor Lawrence, you're like, it's just not the same. Like, that's not the same at all. And I mean, I've said that about Bo and Caleb. It's not just a size thing. Like, you can look at Bo as a bigger athlete than Caleb in some ways, but when you look at the arm and the electricity and the horsepower they play with, you're like, well, that's just different players. And so I just think in a big playoff, this felt like a playoff game. It felt like a big moment game. And it felt like the Jags have the horsepower and they have the star who can go into a moment like that and be really, really good. And we've already seen Trevor Lawrence win a playoff game. Remember, they were down big to the Chargers in that playoff game 2 years ago. Or was it 3 years ago now? Whatever it was. And they came back and they won that game. And Trevor Lawrence played really well in the second half. So this whole, like, he's got some experience and he's got some, I think, confidence knowing that he's playing well. He's playing very, very well. I'm all in on the Jags. I actually think the Jags could be very dangerous in the AFC. I think right now more dangerous certainly than Denver.
Yeah. No, I agree as well. All right. Well, let's look ahead a little bit. So we've got like some playoff odds here.
Love it.
That we're looking at, and we've got in the NFC 5 teams that have clinched the playoffs. So the Seahawks, Bears, Eagles, Rams, and 49ers. They're in. They're going to the playoffs. The divisions are still up for grabs outside of the NFC East with the Cowboys losing. The Eagles have locked that up.
Yep.
So really, it's like the 1 seed in play, and as you can see here, a 41% chance for the Seahawks to get that. 49ers, interestingly enough, the other team in there with 32% odds. It is interesting. The Panthers just beat the Bucs,
and they're still not in control.
They're still not favored. Like the odds makers are saying the Bucs still are favored to make the playoffs and win this division. Yeah. But I think we can both agree, obviously, barring some miraculous situation, both of these teams are not making the playoffs. It's win the division or go home, essentially, because
I don't think either one can make the playoffs as a wild card.
I don't think so either, although, well,
I'm pretty sure.
Because the playoffs and division odds are the exact same.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
the Lions and Packers.
The only thing that needs to be decided is who gets that 4 spot and then who gets the 7 spot, the Packers or the Lions. Now, I do think the Niners could fall to the 7 spot if the Packers win out and the Niners lose out. I believe there's a chance the Packers can move to the 6 and the Niners could fall. Don't quote me on that necessarily, but I think that's a possibility. But I think the most likely scenario is what you're kind of looking at here. Just insert either Packers or Lions or Bucks or Panthers. I'll say this. I love that the Panthers don't control their own destiny right now, because as a Bears fan, I'm circling that third column right there. 11.9.
Wait, how do they not control their own destiny? Because they're already leading the division right now, right? The Panthers? Didn't you say the Panthers?
No, I love that they don't control.
Yeah, but how do the Panthers not control their own destiny if
They
if they're leading the division currently? If
Well,
they win out,
in this scenario, saying that they're behind Tampa Bay odds wise because Tampa Bay is playing that game at home in Week 18.
oh, I see. Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're
But
not favored.
the Panthers, if the Panthers win out, they're in.
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
taking the division. Yeah.
Yes. So what I mean to say is like I love that the Panthers have to win. Like they have to fight because I need the
see. Yeah.
Panthers. I need the Panthers to upset Seattle at Carolina next
Yeah.
week. Because if Seattle loses to Carolina early in the day, then the Bears and the Niners both will have a huge, huge opportunity in front of them. Look who's got the second highest odds to earn the 1 seed, the 49ers.
Exactly.
Look who's got the third highest, the Bears. If somehow Bryce Young can pull off the upset, and I think it's possible, Carolina's playing good football. They're at home. They're playing really good football at home. If they can beat Seattle's got a long road trip after a really emotional game and an extra rest, so they might be a little rusty after the holiday. If the Panthers can win that game, the Bears and the Niners playing on Sunday Night Football will mean so much, Dan. The winner of that game will control their destiny. And obviously, if the Bears win that game, they would lock up the division and with the chance to be the 1 seed. So it's a huge, huge momentum game. I am the biggest Carolina Panthers fan in week 17 early in the game.
Yeah, for sure. And then really it just boils down to, what do the Packers end up doing? They play the Ravens at home. The Packers getting a win there would pretty much would it guarantee them? Would that lock up the 7 seed for them if they
Packers
win one more
game? They just got to win one game, and they're in.
So they just got to win that game against the Ravens, and they can sit everybody week 18 and coast into the playoffs. That would obviously take the Lions out of commission as well. The Lions, meanwhile, are going on the road to Minnesota for that game too. So if the Packers somehow lose and the Lions win, that then makes
week 18 a win and get in for Green Bay.
Yeah, very interesting, which the Bears are possibly sitting their starters that week. I don't know. It depends. If the 1 seed's still in play,
they got to go for it. They're going to
fight for that.
They got to fight for it. At home against the Lions, they got to fight for it.
Amazing that we're entering week 17 and still talking about the Bears potentially getting a 1 seed. That is awesome.
I'll say this, Dan, about the Rams really quickly.
Yeah.
The Rams obviously still have a chance for the 1 seed. They have to have a little more things go their way. They need to win out, and they would need the Bears to win and then lose. So it's kind of this weird, a
lot.
They need some things to happen. But I'll say this: look at where they're sitting. They have the easiest remaining schedule with Atlanta and with Arizona. But the interesting thing the Rams have to deal with as well is the fact that locking up the 5 seed is going to be crucial because everyone is going to want to play at Carolina or at Tampa. You do not want to go to Philly or to Chicago or to Green Bay or to Seattle. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That 4-5 matchup is what the Rams and what the Niners and what the Bears possibly could all be kind of fighting for to find themselves avoiding the playing in at a Philly or at a Green Bay or at a Seattle. So the seeding I think is important and how it's all going to wind down. This is going to be a lot of fun to look at next week. That's for sure.
So let's take a look at the AFC.
Look at that.
We've got
the teams are set.
Well, 5 teams also that have clinched, but Steelers are at a 93%. To make the playoffs. The Texans are at a 98% to make the playoffs. So there's some very unique scenarios in which the Colts can get in.
How could the Texans earn the 1 seed?
Yeah, right.
I want to figure out
0.2% shot
what
at the
has to
one seed.
happen for them. There probably has. That means there has to be some ties or something involved. Something
I
crazy
think
like that.
everyone ahead of them has to lose out,
Yeah.
and they win out, and some other weird,
Yeah.
tiebreaker situations happen. Yeah, so
Yeah, the
that is
Chargers and
pretty interesting.
Bills, the Chargers and Broncos is really interesting. They obviously will play each other, and the Chargers have a chance still to take that division, which just seems wild because the Broncos, again, that win streak was huge, and they felt like they were running away with it. And for it to be so tight here at the end,
Yeah, the Chargers have a lot riding, despite they've already made the playoffs. Like, good for them. That's huge. But they got two massive games to end the season. This one being against the Texans, so huge game for Houston, obviously.
Saturday, yeah.
But then they go into week 18 and they got to play Denver as well. So yeah, there's the division is still potentially up for grabs. The one seed is, they got the fourth best odds to get the one seed. So there's still a lot in play for LA. And credit to them and credit to Harbaugh and Herbert for even being in this position. When they lose both their tackles, when they had banged up players left and right, a completely shattered backfield, they could have mailed it in or just said, we're gonna hope for the best. I mean, they have fought tooth and nail. They're 11-4, pretty impressive where they find themselves. But
The
yeah,
one
this home
seed,
game against the Texans on Saturday is huge.
well, and listen, the Broncos play on Christmas Day against the Chiefs. The Chiefs look dead, and I don't blame the Chiefs for being dead. So let's assume the Broncos get to 13-3, right?
Yeah.
Well, if the Chargers beat the Texans and they get to 12-4, that sets up the Week 18 matchup where the winner takes the division. And you know who's sitting there really pretty looking at the one seed? The New England Patriots. The New England Patriots, they have, again, the Patriots, they get the Jets this week. So let's assume they get to 13-3. Then the Patriots are looking there at Week 18 saying, all we got to do is beat the Dolphins at home in the cold. The Patriots, that's why they have the 40% chance to earn the one seed. That's why they're the highest one seed. If you're a Patriots fan, you got to go win out against the Jets and the Dolphins, and you just got to hope the Chargers also beat the Broncos in Week 18. But in order for the Chargers to be willing to beat the Broncos in Week 18, they got to beat the Texans. So it's like,
right.
You got to be rooting for the Chargers to win out, which is crazy. But if the Chargers lose the Texans, it's pretty much sealed. They can't win the division. There's no chance for a bye. They do yourself you just should rest your guys. You know what I mean? With how beat up they are,
Yeah,
it's almost like you should let the Broncos have the one seed in that way. So
it would be an epic collapse as well, because if the Patriots somehow lose out these final 2 weeks, the Bills can win the division still.
I know. Well, the Bills have the Eagles this week, which that's a huge game. It just doesn't feel like it has as much consequence. It certainly doesn't have much consequence for Philly. Philly is pretty much the 3 seed guaranteed.
Right, yeah.
Because even if Philly wins out, they don't have the tiebreaker over Chicago. And they don't, you know what I mean? So like them to find a way to the 2 seed, but then what does it really matter? 2 versus 3. Philly's pretty much locked in. And if you're Buffalo, it does feel like it's a bigger game. And if you're Buffalo trying to also just play well to wrap up the season, that's on paper is a huge paper it's a huge game, but in reality I think it's just way more consequential for the Bills.
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of interesting how this all sets up schedule wise. The Ravens play in Lambeau Saturday. If the Ravens lose that game, if the Packers beat Baltimore, the Steelers clinch the AFC North. They don't even have
without
to
playing.
They don't even have to worry about Cleveland the next day.
What would you do if you're Pittsburgh then?
Well,
you clinch the North, you clinch the 4 seed. Do you start Aaron and everyone and then kind of pull them?
I think you start. Well, that's tough because you're playing such a ferocious pass rush that would concern me a little bit. Like, Aaron also gave up the technical sack leader, Josh Allen, or not Josh Allen, Jared Allen. It didn't count as a sack for Jared Allen, but that should have been the sack leading. So that would be kind of funny if Aaron
is a
Rodgers
part of
was
this
the
with
guy that
Myles
gets
Garrett.
sacked
Yeah.
by both of them. But I am absolutely not in favor of Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers going into the a playoff game not having played for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
That doesn't feel great. So yes,
No.
I think I would probably play them a quarter or a half. And you know what? Maybe even play them a quarter in Baltimore.
I would say this. I think that's exactly what you should do. I
Yeah.
agree. I think you
because
play to win
you
the
just
game.
you can't let any momentum
Yeah.
lapse here with this team. And it'd be a great situation to get some of this depth, some actual playing time. They've got a third string running back, a rookie who hasn't had any run. It'd be nice to get him some action. Hey, it'd be nice to see Will Howard take some snaps in an NFL setting. Why not have him play in Baltimore in the second half of Baltimore or something like that? I think there's a lot of good that can come from this.
Totally.
But yes, I think you got to play. Obviously, you're sitting TJ then. TJ is the one guy where I'm saying he probably can do
Doesn't
for
have to
3
play.
weeks rest, right? Like that's fine. Cam Hayward even maybe doesn't need to play much at all. But yeah, offensively, I think they need to play a little bit. That's getting a little bit ahead of things.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Mark. I feel pretty confident in the Packers against Baltimore. It's in Lambeau. The Packers have everything to play for. The Ravens aren't a particularly good football team. And, Lamar's banged up too. Like, we don't even know what his health status is. So I don't know. I would take Green Bay in this game. And therefore, I think the Steelers are potentially looking good. And look, they're going to need it because if the Ravens win, the Steelers are going to need a victory then over Cleveland, in my opinion.
Yeah, you don't want it to
I don't think
win and
Pittsburgh
get in.
beating Baltimore in granted it's at home, but I don't think the Pittsburgh's beating Baltimore without DK Metcalf because then you can just fire.
It just put way too. Baltimore will have all the momentum if that happens. They'll go into that game with all the momentum.
Right.
I'll add this. I think one of the things we're kind of burying the lead in that Chargers Texans game is, Dan, the winner of that Chargers Texans game. That's a team that you start to feel like, wait a minute, this team could win the whole AFC. You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah.
The Texans,
so much momentum.
The Texans' question mark is the offense, right? Like CJ Stroud has just not looked sharp. I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's
They've won 7 in a row.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a D'Amico Ryans thing. We have to start kind of questioning, defensive coach, young quarterback. It's just like, what's going on? It just feels like it hasn't been the same since that rookie year, but they are winning. And for the Chargers, the question mark is, well, Herbert is getting sacked 49 times already this year. There's some sort of record I heard PFT talk about on Pardon My Take. It's like, if Justin Herbert will be the first quarterback to get sacked 50 plus times and have 11 or more wins in NFL history. Like no quarterback has ever been sacked that many times as this many wins. So what he's doing is unprecedented as well. It just goes to show they're so beat up on the offensive line. So that game really will change the momentum as both teams are locks pretty much to make, Chargers are in. The Texans are locked. The Colts just can't win out. I just don't see it. Their defense is so bad. That was their chance last night. Phil Rivers played a hell of a game last night, and their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. So let's assume the Texans are in, and let's assume then for me to have any confidence, well, you got to beat the Chargers. It's like a playoff game. Like whoever wins that game, I'm going to have a ton of confidence maybe going to an AFC title game. Like they could absolutely it's so weird. I look at the Patriots, the Jags, the Bills, Chargers, Texans, all his teams. I'm like, yeah, they could win the AFC. And then it's like, well, what about the 1 seed? I'm like, yeah. Broncos, maybe. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And this show next week will be a ton of fun because I think we'll have most everything answered, and we'll at least know the one or two things that will be left to be answered will have a ton of clarity. And there will be 2 or 3 games in week 18 that will have a ton of weight. There's like 6 games that have a ton of weight this weekend. That'll get cut down to like 2 or 3 next weekend. But the NFL, they're so great. There's no times yet set out for week 18. So they'll do everything the right way to where it'll have our attention. I think we both hope, for your sake, it's not Ravens Steelers winner gets in.
Yeah,
and I think for me at least, regardless of what happens, I know my team is in. So I'm would I like it to be Lions Bears Sunday Night Football for the Bears to get the 1 seed, right? Like they win and they get the 1 seed. I'd love that. I'd love to have that opportunity, but we will wait and see.
Yeah, we sure will. It's going to be fun. Really excited. Looking forward to it. Quite a few games being played on Christmas Day, Saturday and Sunday. So a lot of football coming up. But yeah, that will do it here for the Week 16 recap. Wishing you and yours a happy holidays. Have a great break. And you as well, Mark, to the family and everything. Hope you all have a great Christmas. And yeah, we'll be back refreshed and excited to look at what Week 18 will bring as we close the regular season. So next week will be an exciting episode as well. But that'll do it for us here on the Football Lounge with Mark and Dan, and we'll see you next week.